the quantum, the spray truck, the hola with its tenga, and the whole yacht is filled.
In an atmospheric event that local meteorologists are calling once in a generation, the garden town of Okahandja was transformed into a frozen landscape on Thursday evening, April 23, 2026. A massive hailstorm, characterized by its intensity and duration, swept through the region, leaving residents in awe and the town's infrastructure struggling to cope with the icy aftermath. The storm began shortly after 1800 local time. What initially started as a typical late-season thunderstorm rapidly intensified into a violent hailstorm. Within minutes, the sound of ice hitting corrugated iron roofs, a staple of local architecture, became deafening. By 1900, the town was unrecognizable. Popular social media platforms were flooded with images and videos showing streets like Nau-Aib Street completely submerged under a mixture of floodwater and thick layers of hail. In some residential areas, the accumulation of ice was so significant that it resembled a heavy snowfall, a sight rarely seen in the semi-arid climate of central Namibia. The sheer volume of precipitation led to immediate flash flooding. The town's drainage systems were quickly overwhelmed by the combination of high-velocity runoff and ice blockages. Traffic disruptions. Visibility dropped to near zero during the peak of the storm, bringing traffic on the B1 highway to a standstill. In the Nau-Aib township, local authorities reported a harrowing incident where a taxi was swept away by a sudden torrent of water. Fortunately, emergency responders and brave bystanders managed to assist, though the vehicle sustained heavy damage. Numerous reports of shattered windows, dented vehicles, and collapsed carports have surfaced. Farmers on the outskirts of town, particularly near Okahandja Estate, are currently assessing the damage to seasonal crops and livestock shelters. The Namibia Meteorological Service attributed the event to a high-pressure system colliding with a moisture-rich tropical air mass from the north. This created extreme instability in the atmosphere, leading to the formation of supercell characteristics. While Namibia does experience hail, the volume and size of the stones in Okahandja were extraordinary, said a duty forecaster. Reports from citizens suggest rainfall figures exceeding 100 millimeters in less than 12 hours, which is nearly 20% of the annual average for this region. Despite the disruption, a sense of wonder filled the air. As the storm subsided, hundreds of residents took to the streets, bundled in winter coats and scarves, to witness the White Thursday. Children were seen building hailmen and taking photos of the icy dunes that had formed against garden walls. As of Friday morning, April 24th, the cleanup operation is underway. Municipal workers are focusing on clearing ice-clogged drains to prevent further flooding as the hail begins to melt in the morning sun. Motorists are advised to exercise extreme caution on the roads between Okahandja and Windhoek, as debris and slippery patches remain. The Ministry of Environment and Tourism has warned that such erratic weather patterns may become more frequent, urging town planners to rethink urban drainage designs to withstand more violent climatic shifts. Meanwhile, as the ice began to settle, the residents of Okahandja shared stories of both fear and fascination. For many, the sheer power of the storm was unlike anything they had experienced in decades. Johannes Engelbrecht, a longtime resident of the Okahandja estate, described the moment the storm hit. The sound was the most terrifying part. It didn't sound like rain. It sounded like thousands of stones being hurled at the house. We had to move away from the windows because the glass was vibrating so hard. By the time it stopped, my entire garden was buried under 6 inches of ice. It felt like I had woken up in Europe, not Namibia. In the Nau-Aib district, where the flooding was most severe, Maria Shavute, a local shop owner, witnessed the taxi being swept away. We saw the water rising so fast. One moment the road was just wet, and the next, it was a river. The taxi driver tried to cross the dip, but the ice and water were too strong. We were shouting for him to get out. It is a miracle the community pulled together to help before the car disappeared into the main drainage channel. While the town's youth enjoyed the novelty of the snow-like landscape, the agricultural sector, the backbone of the Okahandja district, is facing a grim reality. The timing of the storm has proven catastrophic for many local producers. Farmers specializing in leafy greens and seasonal vegetables have reported near-total losses. The heavy hailstones acted like projectiles, shredding plastic tunnels and flattening outdoor crops. Small-scale farmers who supply the Okahandja night markets have seen their entire harvest for the next month wiped out in a single evening. The cold snap accompanying the hail poses a significant threat to livestock, particularly young calves and goats. The sudden drop in temperature can lead to pneumonia in smaller animals. Thousands of dollars in damage have been reported to chicken coops and livestock pens. The weight of the accumulated hail caused several older shed roofs to buckle, leading to the injury of farm animals. Agricultural economist Dr. Patrice Amukoto warns of a localized price hike. Okahandja is a key transit and production hub. With the destruction of local tunnels and the blockage of transport routes, we expect a temporary spike in the price of fresh produce in the Ochozonjupa region. Recovery for these farmers will take months, and many do not have insurance covering such acts of God. Meanwhile, the Nau-Aib Street inundation, primary commercial artery, Nau-Aib Street, became a literal river. Vehicles were abandoned as water levels rose to window heights. Footage captured by locals showed a white sedan being swept several meters by the current near the town center. In the residential area of Nau-Aib, a taxi carrying passengers was nearly dragged into a storm drain by the sheer force of the flash flood. Quick-thinking bystanders managed to assist the occupants to safety just before the vehicle became wedged against a bridge railing. The force of the floodwaters caused a major rupture in one of the primary NAM water supply pipes feeding the municipal reservoirs. As of Friday morning, several neighborhoods reported a total loss of water pressure. Municipal teams are currently working in muddy, freezing conditions to bypass the damaged section. High-velocity runoff channeled through the Abanfrida residential area, a complex housing many elderly citizens. While no injuries were reported, several ground floor units suffered extensive water damage, destroying furniture and personal belongings. According to the Namibia Meteorological Service, the event was triggered by an intense low-pressure system clashing with high moisture levels moving in from the northeast. The vertical development of the storm clouds reached altitudes where temperatures were well below freezing, allowing for the rapid formation of large hail. The sheer volume of ice is what makes this event unique, said an independent weather analyst. Usually, hail in this region melts upon impact or shortly after. However, the accumulation was so rapid that it created an insulating effect, allowing the ice to persist for hours despite the ground temperature. The Okahandja municipality, led by emergency response teams and local volunteers, has been working around the clock. The National Institute for Educational Development, NIED, also sustained damage, with large billboards and perimeter fencing flattened by the accompanying wind gusts. For the residents of the informal settlements on the outskirts of the town, the storm was particularly devastating. Shacks built from reclaimed materials were no match for the hailstorm. Roofs were punctured, and many families lost their food supplies and bedding to the rising waters. As of today, the ice has begun to melt, creating a second wave of runoff. Authorities have issued a stern warning to motorists to avoid crossing low-lying bridges, as the structural integrity of some roads may have been compromised by erosion beneath the surface.